New data on the Arctic sea ice coverage.
Oh, yes. The Arctic sea ice.
You forgot what we were doing.
I just blipped out there. I'm
and
sorry.
you were very excited about this story. That surprised me. I was ready to see you grab this one and run with it. And you're like,
sometimes the commercial
you're
breaks.
You're asleep. I know. You're
get
staring
long.
at websites on baseball. And it was only 5 years ago, in December, that Al Gore claimed that the polar ice caps would be completely melted by now. But he might be surprised to find that the Arctic ice coverage is up 50% this year from 2012 levels.
Remember all the hysteria over the Arctic ice cap?
Doesn't this go back and forth? One year it seems to melt, the next year it comes back? Or?
Well, yeah, because that's the way things go. It's climate change. The climate's constantly in a flux and has been since the Earth was created. But these bozos are now seizing on naturally occurring change and claiming, well, it's because we did it. We can't melt the Arctic ice circle. We can't do that. All right? If we could, we would have done it because that would be great for shipping. Because you could cut so much time to ship between America and Russia, America and Europe. The shipping companies would love the Arctic Circle to melt. That would be a good thing for the economy. But now they made all their predictions, and you know what was great? They were so sure of themselves, or they were so sure the hoax would work, that they're on the record, they're on video, they're on audio. You could easily find all their proclamations. And so you got it clearly on the record that Al Gore was warning everybody that it was very likely that the Arctic Circle was going to be gone by 2013. And now look what happened. It grew 50% just in the last year because they don't know what they're talking about. This is not something that's predictable. You can't predict this. It's impossible. And you know what? You have to wait them out. You have to wait until all their crazy predictions were done with. Just wait until we now have a prolonged cold period.
So BBC News reports that data from Europe's Cryosat spacecraft show that Arctic sea ice coverage was nearly 9,000 cubic kilometers by the end of this year's melting season, up from 6,000 cubic kilometers during the same time last year. There's a 50% increase.
Yeah.
Researchers were shocked
because
the ice coverage shrank to a documented low in 2012.
But they only have 30 years worth of research.
Now the sea ice coverage is expanded to reach the sixth record low. Right, because they don't have that. It's still low, I guess, by those measurements. But
Right, out of the 30 years. See, this phony, because the average person doesn't know that there weren't even satellites in the air to take photos of this stuff until 1979. You didn't have Arctic ice photos. Even 40 years ago, they didn't exist. So they're dealing, who knows how thick or thin the Arctic ice was in 1752 or in 1891. Nobody knows. I guess there probably were a few explorers who might have documented it, but you wouldn't know if it was a big year or a small year. And before the explorers, you go back to the year, 859, 320 BC. Who knows? Nobody knows. They can't know. So you had this idiot. I'm telling you, Al Gore is like a 5-star mental patient. He ought to be locked up, carried off in a net. And so many people bought into his nonsense. Remember that stupid movie he did and his stupid Nobel Prize that he won?
Inconvenient Truth.
Oh, yeah. He's got a Nobel Prize, and Obama's got a Nobel Peace Prize, of all things. The Nobel Prizes don't mean anything anymore. Maybe they do in the hard sciences, but not for the wacky stuff that he's involved in. So, all right, so what's the story now, huh? What's the story? How come the Arctic sea ice is back? You knew why it was disappearing. Why is it back? They don't have any answer. Everybody's stumped. Everybody's like scratching their beards. How did this happen? It hasn't now warmed for 17 years. 17 years. Buffoons.
Apparently there was a climate expert by the name of James Hansen who said by the 2020s, and he said this in 1986, the U.S. average annual temperature would rise 9 degrees Fahrenheit or more, and up to 3 degrees by the 2010s. Now, that hasn't happened. In fact, we've been cooling for like the last 15 years.
Yeah. And, here's the Gore quote. some of the models suggest there is a 75% chance that the entire North Polar ice cap could be completely ice-free within the next 5 to 7 years. He said that in 2008.
Oh, well.
So we're at, we're coming on the 6-year mark. And with the BBC reporting this, that's important because the BBC has been pushing this nonsense. It's one of the leading news agencies in the world to push this nonsense.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And this Hansen thing you mentioned, 9 degrees Fahrenheit, he predicted in 86. 9 degrees?
By the 2010s.
By the 2010s. Well, we're here.
Well, the 2020s. He said by the 2010s, it could be 3 degrees.
All right. And by the 2020s, 9 degrees?
Yeah.
Well, none of that happened. We've been up 1 degree for the last 100 years.
No, and we already talked about
not 9 degrees in 30 years.
It was a quiet hurricane season. It was actually a quiet fire season. Overall, it was actually a quiet tornado season. So all that stuff went down.
And you know what? This guy, Mark Lansbaum in the Register, he picked on something that we talked about a few years ago about how they rely on land-based thermometers. Where should the thermometers be placed? There's no worldwide standards. And a lot of these thermometers, official thermometers, are at airports, concrete and asphalt.
Yeah,
and
it gets really hot.
It gets really hot. And remember we had a meteorologist, a local weather guy from a small town, small media market somewhere in
like
California.
A website, yeah.
And he came in here, if I remember, and explained this. And he said, look where they put the thermometers. If you put it on an airplane tarmac, well, a tarmac is much warmer than if you have the thermometer under a tree in the woods. And he goes, that's where all the thermometers are. Often they're at airports or in their downtown areas where you have these concrete jungles with the asphalt, the cement.
They wanted us to believe. It's all rigged. All right, Kelly Thomas beating trial up next with Steve Gregory.